name is s01e08 and the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. So I've been thinking about this one pretty much since last night. I watched this review of Watchmen, season 1, episode 8. Only going to be one season. No need to say season 1. Just like there's no need to say white people are racist in Watchmen, because they all are. Okay. But it's got me thinking about it. It has me distracted pretty much all morning so I could record this video. Because it's getting into an area where I am, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I have I have some advanced knowledge. I would say that. I have some advanced knowledge in this. I have some advanced knowledge in that, I know Watchmen extremely well, but also it gets into areas of theology, which Alan Moore understood just intrinsically, where Damon Lindelof does not understand. That Watchmen continues for me to be the most frustrating show on TV, which has areas of brilliance, talking about things that I'm passionately love and are interested in and want to see more of, and areas of just utter vile stupidity that makes it, that mars it. It's essentially a masterpiece that's been vomited on or defecated on by the creator's own stupidity. So, okay, let's firstly, I think the reason why I so fundamentally agree with with Watchmen, the comic book Watchmen, and so fundamentally disagree with this episode of the TV show Watchmen is because of who the creators are. We were comparing Alan Moore and Damon Lindelof. So Alan Moore had the opportunity to have the life that Lindelof really wants to have and has got. To be successful in the entertainment industry and in Hollywood, you've got to really, really want it, and you've got to probably be kind of a low-level human being to get it as well. Especially, I never been in professionally in Hollywood. I was there on vacation. But for everything I heard, you've got to be kind of a terrible person. So Alan Moore was offered, tons of money to do all kinds of things, which he turned down. He not only did he turn down the money, he was offered like quasi fame, and he ran from it in a expression of just extreme maturity and insight and cleverness, which Alan Moore is famous for. Lindelof, on the other hand, ran towards it. And writing is an expression of oneself, and Alan Moore has made himself into a more of a person whose expression I want to hear than Lindelof's is, because he's a much deeper and layered person with a much deeper and layered understanding of reality. That's not to say Lindelof isn't talented or intelligent. He's clearly both. Look, I loved his previous show he did for HBO called The Leftovers, up until the last episode. But I think it was fantastic. But he's not Alan Moore. Again, to turn down millions of dollars, which I think at least $2 million he turned down for not endorsing before Watchmen. But he turned down so many other things because, again, he turned down fame, which is like, in our society, that's just incredible. It really is breathtaking. Equally breathtaking is his understanding of theology. So, there are a few. I was going to say very famous amongst rabbis. They're very influential Middle Ages tomes that really delve into the nature of reality and the nature of what omnipotence and having a different perception of time and space is. Which Alan Moore just, I would say intrinsically or instinctively understood, whereas Lindelof doesn't. And that's expressed itself in this episode. And this episode had bits in there which I just love. I love the realization of Watchmen in this show. I got used to the Zack Snyder movie being the cinematic representation of Watchmen, and this is so much better. The episode they had a few weeks ago with Looking Glass, which was the best episode, perhaps one of the best episodes of TV this year. It was, I think, probably I'm going to say my top 20 hours of TV this year without really thinking about it. But yeah, but they had you saw the squid from was it from the end of Watchmen, and yeah, in general, the whole like the way Doctor Manhattan appears at the end, blowing up people, and you get all that stuff spot on. I loved it, love it. And the core of the episode, which was essentially a first date, was really sweet and really nice. Where it fell down, where it fell down in such a way that I so disagreed with it that it ruined it for me. Is firstly trying to understand how Doctor Manhattan perceives time. I think Lindelof fundamentally doesn't understand this. So the way Doctor Manhattan experiences time is classically the answer to the question: how can there be an omnipotent God that exists outside of time and space, and human beings that exist within finite reality have free will? How can you have free will and predetermination at the same time? They seem to be, mutually exclusive. And the answer comes with how from the perception of time. We humans, let me get a pen. I'll do this. My back scratcher. This is the best dollar I ever spent. I love that. I bought this years ago. Love this back scratcher. It's not really going to do a great job. Didn't explain anything. But imagine time as a line, as a linear line. Let's go this way. Fine. We start here, go, or start here, go. Fine. So that's year zero. This is 2019. And we experience time in a linear fashion. It goes like this. And so we experience a passage of time. God, however, experiences time like this. If I can get the, doink. All at one instant. Every moment is now. There is no future, there is no past, there is now. So, and they tried to express that in this episode, but they didn't. Because Dr. Manhattan cannot influence the present from another present because he's presently happening. He may have some offhand comment, which we saw in the comic book, which belies that he has an omnipotent view of time, which is why I think he split up with his first wife, Janie Slater, when she found out that he knew JFK was going to die. But he said, but I can't stop it because it's happening right now. I'm experiencing it simultaneously. So these tautologies that this episode revolves around, that the relationship with Angela, that's the name of the character, it created itself. It doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work. The tautology that, while being clever and very interesting, that she accidentally convinced her grandfather, Hooded Justice, to kill Don Johnson in the first episode, and that thing calls itself doesn't work for me. I think that's a failure to understand. And moving into their relationship being existing for outside of time, and it essentially calls itself. I understand why Dr. Manhattan had a relationship with Janie Slater. It was his girlfriend before the accident, and after the accident, they stayed together until they grew apart, and there was this incredibly beautiful young woman, Silk Spectre, who was totally into him, and it seemed to be like, even though he had superpowers, he also was having a midlife crisis with that relationship, and he was growing further and further away from out of touch with humanity. So and he met her organically, and I can it was a relationship that existed within linear time. The bit at the end of the episode where he allows himself to be zapped by the Rorschach gang, the white supremacists teleport beam. Yeah, he can't allow things to. For him to allow something to happen like that to himself means he's suicidal. The way that Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt, was able to do that was he bombarded him with tachyons, making him have to exist in linear time, so he could be surprised. So there was no this whole thing of like, oh, they're going to shoot me now, but that's not how it works. That's not how you can have a linear existence at the time and a non-linear existence. Again, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of the temporal physics of Kabbalah. Which, okay, you could be faulted for not knowing, but it ripped me out of the episode. So I didn't feel I didn't understand how their relationship grew. Like, how did he get to know her? Like, what happened? What was the he said the catalyst was that he realized that she longed for a family and denied her family having a family. Just again, if somebody can explain it to me, it's like, I know your boy Zach loved this episode, and I'm banging my head again because of these really weighty theological issues. The other thing that I'm banging my head against is that the at the end of Watchmen, Doctor Manhattan said he's going to leave this galaxy for a simpler one. I think he says that, and maybe he'll. Ozymandias goes, but wait a minute. Didn't you regain interest in humanity, in human life? He said, yes, maybe I'll create some. So, again, in these Kabbalistic middle-aged tomes, which, again, no normal human being will have ever studied or read, it tears apart what it is to be an omnipotent being and what a omnipotent being's relationship with finite beings must be. Which I know this is very intellectual and esoteric, but this is really important. It's so if you're doing a being that's omnipotent, that exists outside of time, and he wishes to create, there's nothing that he can that the only way that can happen is through an expression of is an expression of altruism. Because if there's any other explanation for the existence of life, for an omnipotent being, a god creating life, then he's no longer omnipotent. Let's say he's creating life just to see what will happen. Then that implies a lack. It implies that something that he wouldn't know. So his experiment. If you're saying he creates life to be cruel to it, that implies a lack. The yeah, and if you have a God creating a universe, then the definition of good is going to be what that God's definition of good is. It'll be his definition of self. So, so when he was going to go off and create life at the end of Watchmen, I think the life he would create would be saying, yeah, again. The reason again, and that I've always assumed that a God would create life is to be able to give. That's the only thing that a loving being could need to do, to give. And what do you give other than life? It's not just giving life. You have to give life an opportunity to grow and become better. Otherwise, there's literally no point to the life that you're making. So you've got to give this life free will, and you've got to give this life a reason not to grow. So you've got to give him a choice to be good or to be bad, to go for be positive or negative, and you've got to be intrinsically, you are connected to that life. So all this is very weighty stuff, and the way they realized it in this TV show is he went to Europa and created a lake, which he made like these limited clones of people in, and that whole other bit where it seems so shoehorned in with when he's in England and he's in this mansion house in England when he's escaping from Nazi Germany. It's it just doesn't work. For me, I'm telling you, this is all my own personal thing. And again, if he could just allow himself to really understand how a relationship of an omnipotent being with finite beings, of an infinite being with a finite being, requires humility. Because those answers aren't in Hollywood. Those answers have to come, from a certain voiding of oneself to be able to delve into it. Which again, Alan Moore did. Alan Moore chose the route of humility, of trying to avoid fame, trying to. Again, I think he still lives in the same tiny little house the working class home that he grew up in, or type of home he grew up in. I think he maybe has two of them next to each other because they're tiny. They're literally these tiny little tenement houses. But he realized that that's what you need to do to be the person he wanted to be. Whereas Lindelof does what he wants, which is the Hollywood way, and we see it in this episode. So again, if you're like If you have a background in theology, this episode was very, very tough to enjoy because it was so stupid. But if you don't, I get you liking. Look, there's still a bunch of plot points they need to wrap up. You got to explain how Don Johnson had the owl ship and the owl technology and a few other things. But who knows? Yeah, I'm in board. I'm going to see where it goes. Again, it remains the most frustrating show on TV with areas of brilliance and areas of utter stupidity and racism in it. Don't say this, and it's like Hollywood. It's such Hollywood racism. It's a reminds me of this of the movie Ted when they're getting this scene where they're doing coke at a party. We're about to meet, or they just met Sam Jones, Flash Gordon, and they're brainstorming opening this restaurant or a club or something. And Ted goes, and you know what? We're just going to let Jews in without even asking questions. Just let the Jews in. He's like, Mark Wallenberg's like, yeah, of course we are, but why wouldn't we? And Ted's like, yes, that's exactly how we're going to do it. We're going to treat them just normally. He said, yeah, but why wouldn't we? Yes, that's the end. And it's exactly that. Once you start talking about very surface external factors as if they're relevant or important, at that, like skin color, gender, sexuality, at that point you're a racist. So he's, oh yeah, you have this Hollywood racism that like treats black people like simpletons and that they can't be criticized in any way, and treats white people that don't live in their bubble as intrinsically evil. Although white people are intrinsically evil, just the ones that live in their bubble have got to get over their evilness. And women have to be what's the don't suffer fools lightly. Women all have to be bitches. So it's just again it's entertainment industry racism, which is so sad. So yeah, there we are. I think somebody again. I think this is your boy Zach described it, Watchmen as a beautiful cashmere sweater with a terrible ink blot on it. Stay on it. Just it doesn't take much to ruin it, and that's where we are. My name is Phila Beck, and the Rabbi from Another Planet. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please let me know what you think. This has been a very long review, but this was a lot to talk about, and a lot of heady stuff. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.